So hello, welcome to Toronto AI events. What we usually do in these type of format, I usually host webinar and collaborate with any startup founder or small to medium sized business who wants to showcase any of the tool they have built and possibly get a feedback from the community, or if they are interested, join the team and whatever way you want to collaborate. It's completely free and there is no middleman here. You can directly interact with the founder, and once when the training is this webinar is finished, I will share the link with all of you and whoever has registered on the Zoom. And this is how pretty much webinar system work. And today we have with us Blake AI, and Nick is with us, and he will be showing use case of what is, first of all, what is his thought process of Blake AI, what is the how it is used and how what is his thought on that, and then maybe he will give some demo. And also, even though it is a webinar, I have enabled the chat, so I'm open for feedbacks. So if anybody thinks the use case that he is presenting, it can be made user friendly, or any of the use cases that you think is interesting, he can include in subsequent webinars. So feel free to have it communication back and forth so that he's getting feedback, and that is the whole goal of this type of webinar. So I'll hand it off to Nick. Nick, welcome to Toronto AI.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. So as Shannon said, we're here with Blake.ai. So essentially what we tried to do with this was bring the security guardrails more into AI work and everything. So ultimately, we're trying to open up the ability to use more open source models, models that maybe you're able to kind of know how they were built a little bit more generally, but then also kind of with that being able to provide in those safety guardrails and everything. And then ultimately our goal was as well to try and help, direct your conversations to more appropriate models for your use case. So, just rather than throwing something at Opus all the time because it's the biggest and best and baddest one. Here's an open source model that's way cheaper to run and can run your queries just as well. So I am on our website. It is blake.ai. I'm going to kind of talk through a few things, and then I do have some cool demo stuff. So ultimately, kind of one of the big things that kind of brought this up for me. I have a heavy security background in kind of the governance, risk, and compliance space. So one of the biggest things that I've seen that prevents a company from fully wanting to adopt AI or something like that is that governance piece and being able to know, hey, this is what our users are sending to the AI. This is the data that they're sending. This is what they're doing with it. You know, ultimately, most security teams, they just need to know what it is so that if an auditor asks, they can say, yes, we have logs of this. They don't really want to prevent stuff. But at the same time, many different organizations are concerned about uploading documents or something to it. Or my mentor pointed out very specific documents from certain companies might be highly sensitive, and they don't want that used with any AI at all, anywhere. So with a lot of this, whenever you sign up with OpenAI or Anthropic, you do kind of run the risk of they will use your data to train their models. So, you know, you're yes, you're paying them to use their models, but then you're kind of also being sold for data as well. So with Blake AI, the way that we were trying to solve this was by offering these open source models that are not built using your data and being able to run it in a way that, yes, you're using the model, but that's it. It just uses the model and it runs. Now, that does kind of come off with the handoff of, ultimately each model kind of runs in its own sandbox. But if security is a concern, that does provide a very optimal option. And then with that as well, it provides very predictable results. So, and then ultimately, our goal was to as well offer a self-hosted option. So us being able to sit here and run these models and all for you. But if you're just like, hey, we would really rather self-host this because we have even more privacy concerns, cool. We can support that use case and go for it. So this is really kind of where we kind of break down into the different pieces. So ultimately, there is a web interface. It looks just like any other AI chat interface that you've seen in the world. Cool. We do have the API that runs, that helps to do everything, that helps with the intelligent routing. But then we also have this added intent layer. And so that's where we start to add security guardrails. We attempt to help make sure that what you're requesting is a safe item. And then ultimately, the other piece that we're working on pivoting into is with as companies begin to adopt this and use this, being able to upload their AI security policy and then enforce their AI security policy. So, whether that's a, hey, you cannot upload any documents at all. Cool, we'll block all document uploads for them. But the goal being working with those security teams, helping them understand the options, and maybe more so being able to relax that and being like, okay, you can upload these sales documents to this specific list of models because we know where it's hosted and we know how it's hosted and we feel safe with this. Versus this is a request that you can send straight off to the OpenAI API and you're great. Um, that's really kind of one of the big things is being able to intercept those prompts in the middle, make sure that they're safe, make sure that they're good, and then make sure that they're compliant, and then sending them on. So a few of the things that we are working on, like I mentioned, our on-prem hosting, the model comparison. So this has actually been a huge one. Our goal is to be able to provide the ability to just run, hey, here's multiple models with the same prompt across multiple items. Um, Ultimately, the goal being that you can start and compare and see which models potentially work the best. And then, especially as you get into like agent development a little bit more, that fine tuning of what model are you going to use? Do you want to try it with other models? Hey, we just added this new open source model and you want to go give it a try. Cool, go try it. If it doesn't work, roll back and you're good. So though that's kind of the Blake AI in a nutshell. One of the big things that I am showing off today is our Blake Claw option. So obviously, OpenClaw has become a massive, massive thing in the world today. Um, I know plenty of security friends of mine. We have sat there and read the reports of various scans showing how many OpenClaw ports there are on the internet. So ultimately, with this, the goal was to provide an OpenClaw like agent system that you can then run your agents, schedule your agents, make API calls against your agents, and be able to get very clear responses back. Um, so with that, I'm not seeing anything in the chat. I want to pause for just a minute because I need to sip of water. If there's any questions, I'd love to go ahead and answer them, and then I can jump into a quick demo.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I think if the question comes, we'll post along and you can continue with the demo.
Cool. Okay. Cool. So, so getting into the system, like I said, it looks just like your other various AI chat systems. So you are able to see your old chats, load them up, and kind of see, hey, cool. This is what this was. This was ran against the Kimi K2.6 model. Um, you know, and then you get this nice little cool cost down here at the bottom, which is just super nice. And, at least it's always helped me to be like, okay, cool. That was a pretty expensive request. Maybe I can try to shovel it down a little bit. Um, so otherwise, like one of my favorite ones, what are clouds? If we throw that out there, so right now it's set to this 3.18b model. Cool, it would handle it, but it is a 3x multiplier for the tokens, just
Sorry
because
to,
it is an
sorry
expensive.
to, sorry to interrupt, Nick. Can everyone see the screen? We have one guy saying you can't see the screen.
I can see the chat
Uh,
window. Chat window you're showing, right?
Yeah, the chat window, and then John is saying you can't see the screen.
I don't know.
it's
I can
just
see the
it's a,
screen.
it's a dark screen.
Yeah, I think maybe if you join from mobile phone, it may not work. I can see this, by the way. You're seeing the chat window, right?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, I can see it. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
okay. So ultimately, got this, what is clouds question. And this is where we're able to kind of sit here and say, hey, this seems like a really trivial request. Why don't you use a much cheaper model? And you can click that, and it just goes and runs against the Mistral one, and you get your response back, and saved you a bunch of tokens along the way so that you can go and use those elsewhere. Um, so, and then ultimately, the big fun for today, um, agents. So this is the Blake Claw piece that we talked about. Um, ultimately, I have this morning AI digest one. So you can come in here, you can name it, you can give it a prompt. Um, you can select a model. You can also just select it to auto route. So it'll just auto route to whichever one it thinks is best. Um, normally, I'm providing that option. I prefer to have my agents run consistently on the same model just for consistent performance. But at the same time, if you want to play around with it, it's an easy way to. Now, the other piece, kind of with these tools that we're starting to add. So by default, your agent would run in a sandbox container that has no access to the internet. So that is to help with the security piece. It also helps with preventing any potential data grabs that you don't want. So if you're wanting to say, hey, I don't want you to use any outside data, I want you to use only what you know, great, you can do that. And that comes in with another piece of our roadmap where we are working on the ability to, with your agents, being able to kind of create your own models in the system. So having some base models and building your own models and running your own models. So being able to say, hey, here's all of the training data that I want you to have, and I only want you to reference this. And then it's ran in a spot where it can't reach out and find anything else. It's stuck to only what it knows. But you can turn on web search and it can go search the web and go and crawl and everything and find whatever it needs to find. You can also, with this, with the web fetch, you can sit there and say, hey, I only want you to use these websites, or I don't want you to use these websites. So, let's say you don't want to pull Reddit information into your stuff. Cool. Reddit.com, save changes. And the next time I run it, it will not go and hit reddit.com. It will go and do multiple other things. So this does provide, and this being a Kimi model, this one just takes a hot minute to run. But ultimately, we can come in here. And so you can see that it began to, and formatting needs a little bit of work. Um, we're in beta. We're we're iterating quickly, and that's what I can say. But we are able to start and see, especially from the other, earlier one, we're able to start and see where it's going and pulling and finding its data from, and then ultimately with a little bit more tweaking, it'll be a nice little output box that we can start and see. Um, so the other piece is being able to start and offer these agents as something that can scan your GitHub repos and start and open PRs and everything. That is something that I am actively working on. The biggest thing with that is, again, if you can't figure out yet, the biggest thing that we're concerned about at Blake is security. So technically speaking, you could totally just drop in the system prompt all your GitHub personal access tokens and everything, and it would go and pull stuff and work on stuff. But we are working on the ability to connect to tools securely. So being able to do it through OAuth and stuff, and then you're able to specifically down here in the tool section grant your agent access to specific tools. So rather than with OpenClaw, I found a lot of times like I want to give this agent access to this thing, but then all the agents can sit there and go and find it and be like, I have access to this. And it's like, no, you're not supposed to. The goal here is that you can create your agent, you can have your agent in a very controlled manner access what you're wanting to. Um, and then ultimately, with these agents, there is an API option where you can sit there and call your agent with a different run prompt. So if you wanted to create a very generic system prompt, maybe something like, I'll provide you a topic. I want you to go find the 5 top articles and provide them back to me in a list. And then your run prompt, you could be like, I want to know about Formula One this week. And then that way you can wire that up into your app and leverage that as part of all of your runs. So I do see that Andrew answered the signing up question. Cool. So the other piece, as I kind of mentioned, there is the API keys option. So does allow you to create API keys. Um, this is an OpenAI compliant API. So this does allow you to pretty much have a drop-in replacement for this. You are able to track your usage across different models, how many tokens you used, your number of conversations and everything. The other nice thing is you can kind of see the activity, so you can see how you're spending your tokens and everything overall. And then we are working on this cloud key. So essentially like a bring your own cloud kind of situation. So for example, if you are in a situation of like, hey, I want to use Blake, but I need all the models to run in my AWS account for data sovereignty reasons, cool. Bring us your AWS keys. We can still do all of the stuff we do in the middle to help make sure that things are secure and working properly, but it'll run in your AWS account or your GCP account or your Azure account. So that is all of the Blake items. We are constantly bringing on more models. It's just this constant game of there's always new open source models being created. And so we're trying to bring them on and make sure they run well before releasing them out. But ultimately, the goal is to provide a secure way to work with AI and a way to have very robust controls around how the AI acts, how the agents run, and everything like that. So I've not seen any questions. I want to pause for just a moment in case there are any
I have
questions that come up.
I
Yeah.
have one question. So in the llama models that you're doing, where are you hosting them? Are you hosting in your own inference platform or somewhere else?
So we use a little bit of a combo of a few options. So some of this runs in, I have a data center here in Georgia. And so a good chunk of this runs there. We do have the ability to burst up into some other providers just to kind of help provide those. And then I am in talks with LeaseWeb on getting some GPUs from them just so that we can have a little bit more. My goal is to try to have a little bit more of an elastic option. And then a few of the corporate companies we've talked to have been curious about the ability to kind of use Blake. They want us to host it, but they kind of want like their own reserved set of GPUs, again, for data sovereignty issues.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes. I think
is
Alan,
it
you can speak now. I think I
Yeah, I'm recently I posted this question in the chat. I wrote, can users sign up for Blake AI for free, or is there a subscription plan?
so? So yeah. Uh, so we do offer a 14-day free trial. where you can kind of get in and use some of the models and work with it a little bit. Ultimately, there is no forever free plan. Um, and that's just because hosting these models and everything and making sure that they're running smoothly just requires a little bit of some capital to do. So we do try to keep it at a very low barrier to entry, just so that it's not like a lot of the other ones where it's a huge uptake right up front. So we do try to have this option for a very low cost, but then you can ultimately just kind of top up a little bit. The other thing that we do a little bit differently than like the OpenAI and Anthropic options. Once you get tokens, they are good for 3 months. So you can potentially, on the starter, have up to, what is that, 1.5 million tokens. And we use the tokens on a first in, first out basis. So the tokens you get in January will get used before the tokens for February are touched if you're in March and you still have tokens from January. So you do have like a longer than just a month long use it or lose it. You get 3 months of the use it or lose it essentially. But my hope is with that, it helps to kind of ease some of those concerns just because then you do have a little bit longer. So if you do, it's December, you're traveling more, spending time with family, and then January you're wanting to knock some stuff out, you've got extra tokens to just get going on stuff.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And kind of with that, because I think that will segue well, I believe Andrew posted the link. We are offering a special Toronto AI subscription. So what this will be is you sign up for the platform, you use this billing link. Ultimately, you'll have a year of Blake AI. So at the 500,000 tokens a month for $99, and then it'll just drop into that same $29 a month after that. So you can get a little bit of a discount that way. Um, yeah, I feel like that was more of a money pitch, but any other questions, or I'm more than happy to jump into some more specifics of stuff if anyone has anything.
Yeah, I don't see questions. So I think what we will do is, if some people, actually I see total maybe 28 people have signed up and I don't see everybody. So what we can do is recording and whatever your information is there about the sign up and the use case, I will send my by tomorrow. You should get the email. Usually Zoom sends automatically. And I will also include additional information from Andrew and Nick, so that, and also I will send your contact information if anybody directly want to reach out to you guys and get in contact.
Yeah,
Perfect.
absolutely. And I know you'll post it, but I'm going to drop it in chat
Yeah.
if anyone has questions. This is my email. Sure, yeah. So,
Yeah. Well, share your email ID, LinkedIn profile, Twitter, whatever account you want to share. All good.
yeah, I'm more than happy to answer further questions. If someone has anything, feel free to shoot me an email. I super appreciate the time, super appreciate any feedback. Um, yeah, Andrew, do you have anything?
Oh, it's great. Thanks, Nick. Thanks for demoing what we're doing. And as developers, I'd love to see people join our community and build out some
Micho, who made
solutions.
this?
Very exciting times. So thanks, Shandon. We really appreciate the time here on the
Yeah.
event and love to connect again for future events. Oh, we
Okay,
got another
thank you so
question
much.
here, Nick.
Hey,
We got
cool,
one more question here.
cool. Yeah. So, other industry tools, if there's a specific one that you're thinking of, feel free to drop in the chat, but I'll start talking in the meantime. Um, so the biggest two being OpenAI and Anthropic. If we're starting to look at those and kind of compare Blake to those, we leverage the open source models is one of the biggest one. So we are providing the ability to hook into those models if you want to through their APIs. But ultimately, we are trying to push a lot more of the open source models that you can go on Google and see how they're trained, how they're built, and everything. Um, on top of that, there's the security piece. So I know that specifically with like Claude Code, they've started to roll out the ability to have like the auto mode where it'll auto approve. And then I know with Fable, they added some guardrails. But ultimately, with Blake, our goal is to allow you to have some more configurable guardrails. So rather than just having to accept Anthropic's guardrails as what you're going to get, being able to say, I want my guardrails to be X. This is where I want to limit my agent. So ultimately, my goal in that is a lot of giving you the control to do with your agent what you want to do, just like caveat of as long as it's legal, because ultimately there are still laws that we have to follow. But ultimately, my goal is to give you that control, and then ultimately being able to, if you're a model developer, being able to say, hey, throw your model on Hugging Face, give us an access token to your Hugging Face, drop your model in there, and then you can use your model in our system. So, if you're developing a lot of models, yeah, you probably have a computer that can run it, but at the same time, being able to just have somewhere that can host it very quickly, and then you can have all of your agents running and using your model, it provides a little bit more of customizability. And rather than this very strict kind of model chat platform that works one very specific way, you're able to say, no, I want it to work like this, is my goal. So that's kind of how we compare, in my opinion, at least. And we're trying to, I think it's great, the we're trying to provide more customization and more, I like to think of it as more control ultimately, and being able to kind of control your own destiny with how your AI works. That was an awesome question. Anything else? And like I said, there's my email address. Um, I will warn you, I am East Coast. So if you email
Yeah.
me late, I will probably not get back to you until the next day. But yeah, I'll hand it back over to you, Chandon.
Yeah, no, by the way, Nick, thank you so much for doing it. And I really like your approach. It's basically given the customization, and that is a really pain point of most enterprise. I was talking to yesterday, I think day before yesterday, I was talking to another one of my friend. He also has a startup around similar concept. He called it Cost My AI, where he's actually looking to explore how he will let enterprise to control the cost of the token and all those things. So it's a really interesting space as AI is getting more mainstream in the ecosystem, and really cool product. And of course, as usual, I wish best of luck for your journey. And I would say, and I will share all the details. Please feel free to reach out to Nick for any questions that you have. And I would say use the because his free tier is very generic. I would generous. I would say, so I would say use his token he's giving for free, and give a feedback to him, right? Like what is working, what is not working, and that is maybe we can add a value here. So there is any code or something is there, or they just simply sign, they will get 14-day free trial, everybody?
Yeah, so just signing up will get you the 14-day free trial. If you want the Toronto AI offer, that's the separate billing link that Andrew posted a little bit earlier. And then
Oh,
Alan, I see your question. My email is It's Nick, Nick, at Blake, BLAICK.ai.
Oh yeah, he
Now,
sent the link also. That's yeah, pretty nice. So this is the link, and yeah, I will post the link one more time, and I will post the link in the email when I send it. Okay, sounds good.